how long we've been on this run. 5 weeks? 2 days? Where are we? Is this even real? What's up, everybody? Welcome to PCP Movie Night here on Pop Culture Philosophers. Welcome to the grand conclusion, the grand finale, if you will, of March Madness 2025, which has been the most elaborate, most expressive, and most maddening March Madness of all time. By the way, speaking of March Madness, War Eagle Man, Final Four, baby. So tonight we're talking about The Lighthouse, the sophomore effort, feature film-wise, from director Robert Eggers, who had just come off of the success of The Witch. After this movie, he made The Northman, which I think is phenomenal, and just in the last few months did Nosferatu, which I think all four of those films are amazing, and I cannot think of a better movie to end March Madness with than The Lighthouse. I'm excited to dive into this incredibly rich and layered movie. Now, we say this all the time. This movie's rich. It's got layers. It's like an onion. We can peel it. Lots of things that we can take from this movie. That is especially true with this movie, The Lighthouse. So joining me here on this lonely rock are some of my best friends here in the YouTube comic book movie sphere, starting with Fable from One Collection Down. What's up, you piece of shit? How you doing?
Station. Oh man, happy to be part of March Madness this year, and finally we had the last movie. So thank you to this dipshit over here and everybody in the chat for joining us tonight, man.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. And of course, our homie from Blood Splatter Chatter himself, it's Verno the Bean Spiller. What is up, my man?
What up? What up? Excited to be here for this bonkers ass film. So this is gonna be fun. Let's spill some beans.
Let's spill some fucking beans. Speaking of spilling the beans, it's the missing link himself. What's up, Steph? How you doing?
Yo, Brooks isn't here, so I get to steal the elegant, simple entrance.
Brooks leaves it hanging though. He likes that awkward moment that follows. He lives for that awkward moment after the "What's up."
Yeah, one of my favorite bits is when Brooks just goes, "I thought it was all right."
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just kidding. And we're like, yeah, no shit, Brooks. All right. Brooks will be joining us. He's going to be a little bit late. He's still on the boat on his way to this distant rock of solitude, this stormy, dreary, Edgar Allan Poe Lovecraftian type nightmare that we are all gathered at tonight. Jelani couldn't make it, probably because this movie probably scares him too much, especially with some of the homosexual undertones. Anyway, moving on. The Lighthouse, 1919 is when this movie came out. 2019, this movie came out. It was considered kind of a success, critically so, more so than commercially. It had a budget of $11 million. It made $18 million. But I remember when this movie dropped, I didn't get to see it in the theater. I saw it well after when it came out on Blu-ray. A dude that worked for me was like, you got to watch this movie, and he loaned me his copy. I think this is still his copy right here. I thought I lost it, and then I found it like a year ago. So I think he's already moved on and upgraded to the Criterion, because there is a Criterion version of this movie that now I want to go ahead and get a hold of. But it's actually got a really nice like making of documentary. It's got a commentary. Robert Eggers is old school. He likes shit like that. Speaking of old school, this movie is filmed in an old school type way. It's not, a lot of people go, oh, this is full frame 133 by 1. No, it's 119 by 1, which is the ratio of some of the very first like sound films, talkies, as they called them back in the day, as we called them back in the day. We called them talkies. So it automatically, with just the way it's shot, it's not just in a lot of movies that are, it's also in black and white. A lot of movies that are in black and white are filmed in color and then color graded to black and white. But this one was actually using black and white film stock. They even put in a cyan filter over the camera to make all the blacks not register to the camera. So everything that, or not blacks, but the reds appear black, right? So at the end of the movie, he's not covered in oil or whatever. It's blood. And it gives it that old school effect that also kind of removes you as the audience from the time and the setting of this movie, but at the same time starts engrossing you into the movie. First time I watched this movie, I was taken aback. I was like, wow, that movie was way better than I thought it would be, starring Robert Pattinson, because all I knew him from was Twilight. Everybody still calls him that Twilight boy, but he's definitely gone above and beyond being Edward Cullen in the Twilight series. And this is a movie that I was really surprised by him. I wasn't surprised by Willem Dafoe. It's anchored by brilliant performances. It looks stunning. The music is very effectual. And I love this film. Now, this was my second time watching it. I hadn't seen it since I first watched it. And I wish I would have seen this in the theater. I can't, what a fever dream that would be, you know? But I really appreciate this film. I do think it goes very, very deep. It does not treat the audience like they're stupid. It doesn't spoon feed us anything. We are challenged as the audience to make the connections ourselves and also to pull from it what we perceive, what we see. I think the movie is stellar. But everybody here, it's your first time. So Fable, I want to know, what do you thought about the maddening pace and just overall thoughts of The Lighthouse, my man?
Oh, I really enjoyed this one. I did. It's a good little mind fuck in the light of The Shining and stuff like that. A good character study, a good descent into madness. But what ultimately drew me in, just putting it on for the first time was the beauty of it. I mean, first I thought I was watching it like a fucked up copy. So I was like, why isn't this in widescreen? Like I had to actually Google it to see, to find out that it was shot in that way on purpose. But I mean, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous film. A masterclass in cinematography. And also the acting in this movie is top notch. After I watched the film, I was kind of shocked that nobody got nominated for an Academy for this one. Neither of these guys. It's incredible. I mean, these guys, like William Dafoe and even Pattinson to a degree, they're very, I don't know, specific people, right? But like they lose themselves in these roles where at times I don't even recognize that it's Pattinson, right? Because he's such a pretty boy. And in this movie, he's not pretty at all. It's real gruff. And William Dafoe, my God, they talk about English people coming over and doing our roles, stealing our accents. Shit, I wonder what they think of him, because he sounded like he was straight from whatever accent he was emulating. But yeah, no,
He was like a villain in a Pirates of the Caribbean movie almost a little bit, right?
Yeah, he sounded like Popeye's grandfather or something like that. It was like perfect. But yeah, no, it's gorgeous. It's crazy. It's a fever dream. Very well acted. And you're right, man. This is something that, like, even though at times I struggled to figure out what the fuck was going on, I still enjoyed myself all the way through. So yeah, no, I like this first time watch.
Yeah, what's up, Dylan? Farting all over Pattinson the whole movie. Yeah, you're right. Verno, what about you? What'd you think about The Lighthouse? I for certain had thought you had already covered it, that you were familiar. I mean, I knew you're familiar with the movie, but it's surprising that this was your first time diving in. So what'd you think?
I don't know why I hadn't seen this. It's one of those, like, I love The Witch, and actually I hadn't seen The Northman. I'd never seen this, and I just saw Nosferatu. It's the only 4 movies that he's done. And there was just something about it. I'd always hear, like, oh, it's just fucking really weird movie, man. It's Willem Dafoe and Pattinson just being weird. And something about the pitch never got me excited to watch it. So I went in a little bit trepidatious for whatever reason. And I thought, just like what Fable was saying, the acting is amazing. The cinematography, amazing. Like, amazing. It looks beautiful. The performances are fire. So much symbolism, so many layers, as you said, Robbie. But I fucking hated it. I did not enjoy this movie. Like, it was a chore. Like, I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I put it on last night. I kept falling asleep. And all this white noise I kept falling asleep. I'm like, fuck it, I'll try this again today. I don't know, man. I just could not get into it. The whole, like, every like monologue they go into, I'm like sitting there like, wow, this is great acting, but I don't care about this scene. It's just acting to me. It's just watching people act and looking at beautiful cinematography, but I could not get wrapped up in this at all. And I don't know. I found the whole movie a chore. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not alone. I know there's a lot of people that love it. It's got high Rotten Tomato scores, 7.4 on IMDb, a Criterion edition. I feel like it's one of those movies that
I could
I
be
don't know.
wrong on that. Maybe it's an Arrow edition now that I'm thinking of. I
Well,
see
whatever.
that.
I mean, it's a well-respected movie. I've heard most people say mostly positive things about it. It could have been a mood thing for me. I definitely think it's a movie that you have. If you're not in the right mood for it, you're not going to enjoy it. And I was not in the right mood for it. I was just like annoyed by everything about it. But well, I lost my sound. But I guess that's what I have to say on it because I can't hear myself talking. I got to fix it.
Okay. All right. Wow. I'm actually kind of shocked and taken aback by that, but fair enough.
Right.
We all have our own experiences, as wrong as they may be. Steph, what about you? What did you think about this movie? And you said this isn't necessarily your first time watching it. You did watch, kind of skimmed through it before. Is what you were saying. I can't even imagine what that feels like.
So I skimmed, put it on to like, all right, I kept hearing hype about it. I was like, one of my homies said it was really good. And so I put it on to kind of like, sometimes I'll do that with a movie. I'll find the scene that captures me and then I'll like start my way back and work my way up to that scene. So I was trying to do that with this movie and like I never found a scene. So I was just like, even though I'd seen The Witch, I enjoyed that. I think what I did enjoy this movie, but I think what Verno said holds true is that this is like something, because I put this off for the longest time as well. Like, I knew it was Robert Eggers. I'd seen The Northman, seen every other film he's done, which is like 3 others, but I never got around to this one. And I could certainly see why he wouldn't be in the movie. Like it's a very well-crafted film, beautiful film. I actually did enjoy like the aspect ratio that they did. I felt like it kind of enhanced the claustrophobic nature of being stranded on the lighthouse on the island and shit like that. I think Robert Eggers is fantastic at establishing atmosphere, first and foremost. He's done that well in every film. But this is like I enjoy it, but I can definitely understand why. Like towards the end, I was kind of like the first 45, 50 minutes I was invested, but like halfway through I was like, okay, like what are we getting at, I did enjoy the ride, but I was a little confused by the ending, or like maybe maybe he was like stranded in the fucking wilderness, like William Dafoe had said earlier in the film, or something like that. I don't know. I was like, did any of this happen? Like, So I mean, I'm still letting it marinate, but I enjoyed it overall. I definitely appreciated its style and the performances, but the story, I mean, I can definitely see how someone would be taken out of this. This is kind of like I almost feel like Pattinson signed up for this. He's like, hell yeah, I'm gonna really show off my chops. This is like, I almost feel like a Oscar bait, some shit like that,
Exactly.
To a degree.
They made the film to like, let's see if we get some Oscars out of these actors. They deserve it.
Yeah, but it is well crafted. But it's almost like a ghost film for me. Ghost films aren't really for me, and like people like I didn't know what the threat was in this film. I understood at the end. I knew he was losing his shit, but so I'm still letting it marinate. We'll see how it goes.
So Robert Eggers says that one of his intentions with this film is he wanted to leave you with more questions than answers by the end of the film. But he wanted to craft a film that the more you watched it, the more that you would start piecing together what it means to you. Because there are a lot of themes and a lot of references, a lot of imagery and symbolism that's thrown in there. There's Jungian stuff. There's stuff from Greek mythology. There's stuff about repression. There's stuff about alcoholism. There's stuff just about madness. I mean, on the surface is about 2 dudes stuck at a lighthouse for who knows how long, slowly going insane, right? And that's like the very surface level of it, but you can dive deeper. Is there a supernatural element? Is it all in his head? Are they in purgatory? Or is it only one person that's there?
Yeah.
There's so many questions that get brought into this movie. And regardless of what it means to anybody who's watching it, the movie, I think, is incredibly effective at making you feel like you're going fucking crazy along. You know what I'm saying? And it's anchored by some of those brilliant performances. Robert Pattinson was trying to distance himself from the Twilight movies. He was taking on crazy roles. Robert Eggers had reached out to him for another role where he was going to play like some kind of nobleman or something. He goes, no, mate. He's like, no, mate. I want to have. He talks not quite like that, but Robert Pattinson was like, no, I'm only interested in strange, weird roles right now. So then he goes, well, let me send him the Lighthouse script. What do you think about this? And Robert Pattinson was like, oh yeah, that one's strange and weird. And then Willem Dafoe wanted to work with Robert Eggers as soon as he had seen The Witch. And he was like, this role is perfect for Willem Dafoe because, as Robert Eggers says in the commentary, any other actor, this is a cartoon character. You know what I'm saying? With his with the way he talks and the syntax of it and everything, which is very, very accurate for that kind of pirate speak, that salt man type thing or whatever. I love it. Now, there's only really 2 characters in this movie. So we could go around, and originally there were supposed to be 6 of us here. Now there's just 4. Brooks is on his way. But I don't want anybody to have to try to push too hard and be clever and be like, well, the lighthouse is a character, which is true. The ocean is a character, which is true. The mermaid, maybe. Maybe the dude who Robert Pattinson's character didn't help when he was dying, you know?
Or killed.
Yeah, or killed. Exactly, right? So we're not going to stretch like that. Just tell me what you think about these performances. Fable.
Oh, they're fantastic. They're fantastic. I think Robert Pattinson definitely sheds whatever Twilight shit he had on him with this role. He's fantastic. But I really love Willem Dafoe. Because Willem Dafoe can be really cartoonish, right? Like we all remember his Green Goblin and Spider-Man and shit like that. And here it's cartoonish, but it seems real too, like a real guy from that time, a old sea guy, you know what I mean? An old, I don't know what to call him, a sailor. And even though I didn't understand some of the slang he was using, I understood what he was saying, right? Like he said it so well that he didn't lose me at all. And I don't know if he was doing like a different voice or something like that, but he didn't sound like himself a little bit. You know what I mean? Something kind of different. I mean, he was just doing a fantastic job. I loved his look, the beard, you know what I mean? The crazy wild hair.
When Brooks was hanging out with me at the shop on Wednesday, and he hadn't seen it yet, and I was like, I know you love Willem Dafoe, right? And so I just showed him I just typed in Willem Dafoe, The Lighthouse on Google Images, and was showing him pictures, and I was like, do you get it? And he goes, he looks nut fucking insane, dude.
It's like, my name's Ephraim, and he's like, Ephraim, yeah, Ephraim. Yeah, laddie. No, Ephraim. I don't know, the way he was talking was just fantastic. So yeah, no, the only 2 real performances in here were stellar, absolutely stellar. I can't, like I said, hate it or love it, and I totally get what these guys are saying, because sometimes you want to be led in the movie, like a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You don't want it to be totally left up to you. But just on a acting standpoint, yeah, these guys smashed this, man.
All right, speaking of smashing, I guess he's done smashing, so let's go ahead and bring him in. It's Brooks. What is up, my man? How you doing?
You're spilling my beans.
He's got his pipe out. I love it. I love it. Welcome in, Brooks. The Lighthouse can't wait to get to you, but we're going through some of the cast right now. Verna, what'd you think about the performances in the film?
I mean, it was definitely the highlight of the film. Like what you guys are saying about Willem Dafoe and his look. Just he was shot so often from below, looking up with his hair, and he just looked like a demon, or like, I don't know, just like he looked like a otherworldly, big time. And yeah, his voice and performance, but like what I thought was cool about both the characters is that you don't know, like you kind of realize that halfway through the movie, you start questioning. Thank you very much. You start questioning. I think Pattinson's story maybe first, like, oh shit, is he telling the truth about his past? Maybe he's not who he says he is. And then a little bit later, like, well, shit, I don't know this Willem Dafoe guy either. And maybe he's not who he says he is. Maybe he's not really the boss. And then it's like you get into like titles and all that. What does it matter that he's the boss? Why does he get to boss him around? And just their relationship, once you're cut off from society and the way that is, it's like, okay, you're the boss and I'm the underling. But once there's no one around, let's drink together. And shit. I don't know. There was a lot of cool, as much as I said, like, I didn't enjoy watching the film, I get why it's a good movie. I think this is a good movie that I didn't enjoy watching. Like, that's my thought on it. But Pattinson, this is the first thing, first thing I saw him after Twilight was Batman, but I had heard about his roles that got him Batman. And clearly this is it, like his weird shit. And I totally get that. I was kind of surprised he didn't do more. Like I think Fable, you mentioned, he doesn't say a whole shitload during the movie, and he's always looking down, which is clearly a choice. But that like says a lot about the shame that he's carrying around from what happened before, which is cool. So I mean, and when he goes nuts on that fucking bird, not that that's a big part of the performance, but that's crazy. I mean, that to me, that's like the highlight. That's like the biggest thing that happens in the movie. One of the few like moments. I think that's what I didn't like about overall, was just like not enough moments to keep me engaged in the story going forward. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing negative to say about the performances. Both of them incredible.
Hell yeah. Link, what do you think about the performances?
Just I want to preface it by saying I didn't enjoy the film. This is not a film. Dylan, shout out to you. I'm glad you can watch this 10 times. I won't be watching this 10 times. I respect it for what it is, but it's like, this is not like a feel-good movie, I guess. And it does its job. I mean, that's what it's for. But,
right.
I respect the craft, but I get what Bruno's saying. But performances, fucking amazing. As I was saying earlier, I think it's more of the William Dafoe show. He just wins. I think Robert Pattinson got a lot of like hype for this role, but Dafoe as well. But because and this was like his coming out party for Pattinson, even though he had done some other films like I get him confused. He had done this like space film that was pretty fucked up. I think it was called High Life, and he did this Safdie Rose film. I think he did both of those prior to this. So I thought I enjoyed those performances better. It's a personal thing, but he was fine in this. But I think this is what he was recognized for, and I think Dafoe kind of got put in the shadows a little bit. But I think he was amazing. Both of them amazing. Dafoe was my favorite though. Just a crazy old bastard, especially this scene where he's like sitting there being buried alive, and I'm like, shit, man, he's fucking eating the dirt, bro.
Yeah.
Like that's commitment. I respect that. And then his crazy ass hops up.
Ground up Oreos or some shit, man. I really
No, that's funny. I hope so.
That shit.
If it's not,
those cookies or something.
If it's not, and he hears this now, he's gonna be like, "Oh my god, Robert, why didn't we do that? Like, it's such a better idea."
He got in his eye and shit. He's like,
yeah, no, they were both fantastic performances. And Pattinson, job well done as well.
Hell yeah. Brooks, this was your first time watching this film. I'm curious as to what you thought about it, my friend.
I liked it. I liked it. It is like, it's a very A24 movie, like, but I kind of like, I can go either way with A24 movies, like, but I always do appreciate the skill and the effort put into them. Like, I've never seen an A24 movie where I'm like, they just fucking phone that shit in. Which, I mean, surely there's one somewhere out there, but I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, this movie, it's just, it's a psychological kind of horror, and it does that. Like, it makes you feel horrified about like the very concept of being stuck on a fucking island with like no escape with this fucking dude whose only like occupation is giving you orders. Like, I'm like, nah, man.
And farting all over you.
Once the storm hit, I'd be like, I'd be pushing that motherfucker out a window or something. He would have an unfortunate accident. But yeah, that's like, I guess that's kind of the whole point of it is like, when you're in that position, it's like, those kind of thoughts kind of bubble up to the surface that, when, especially like, when you're stuck with somebody and all you have to do is sit around, and they don't even have like TV or internet or any of that shit. They just drink. All they can do for entertainment is sit and fucking drink. So yeah, like
bro, and then they run out of liquor, and they get like turpentine, and they're mixing it with honey. Like, dude, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, like the scene that really fucking like got me in this movie that was when he was emptying the pots and he throws up in the fucking wind, blows it back on him. I was like, oh, dude, like that and the bird. Like, but I watched it 2 times, and the second time when I watched it, I found the bird part hilarious. The first time I was like, oh, I was like horrified, but the second time I'm like, fuck that bird.
Yeah, fuck that bird.
All right. Well, there's really only 2 characters in this movie, Brooks. So just speak on the performances, man. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, they obviously did like Pattinson and Dafoe like great performances. But I think if I had to pick a favorite character in the movie, I'd probably pick the bird. Like, cause like I just love the way this bird acts. Is like the first time he shows up, he's just like just sitting right in his way, like fucking antagonizing him throughout the whole movie. When he's sleeping and he pecks on the windowsill.
And no
Like, this bird is
Academy
asking
Award.
for it.
No Academy recognition.
This bird has attitude, dude. This is like the Sonic the Hedgehog of fucking birds. Like, no wonder he got fucking wrecked by poor Pattinson, man. Like, it's sad. It's also like I think the bird is meant to be kind of an homage or a nod to Samuel Taylor Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner as well, which is like a poem about a sailor who's telling a story that starts with his misfortune starts because he kills an albatross, and that's some kind of like that's some kind of seaman's like what is it superstition. Yeah, is that you can't kill a seabird because like your luck will go sour.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
dude,
like,
Willem Dafoe's character goes ape shit when he gets dismissed about that, right?
Yeah, and it's like
That was a great scene.
That's the first time he really kind of like goes a little crazy. And I love that like there's this thing where a lot of the time there's a lot of shots where Pattinson's character will be standing and like there's a giant shadow behind him. Like there's like so many scenes where it's a giant, but Willem Dafoe you hardly ever see his shadow. Like he's usually more like kind of nestled into the corner and you don't see as much of Dafoe's shadow, but you're always seeing Pattinson's shadow. So yeah, I thought it was like there's an interesting dynamic between these characters as well, I must say.
Oh, yeah.
Here's one thing I'll point out about the shadow thing. And I'll just let it percolate amongst y'all for a second. And maybe we can think about it as we go on. But there is a brief moment when Robert Pattinson's character, Tommy, is approaching Tom, right? And Tom's in the lighthouse doing whatever freaky shit he's doing up there, right? And Robert Pattinson, there's a brief moment where he is casting a shadow and it's Willem Dafoe's shadow. Where like Willem Dafoe's up there like acting all crazy and it's cast as if it is Robert Pattinson's shadow. That's kind of interesting. But let's talk about the style and structure of this film. This movie is under 2 hours long. It doesn't feel long to me. It does feel like you're in it, right? It doesn't feel like it just breezes by or anything like that, but I feel like I'm in it. And even scenes that are only like 30 seconds or a minute long feel like they're more extended. But it never feels to me like it drags. It always feels like it's moving to the next piece. And especially once we get into the third act in particular, it starts like ramping it up. And the shots are way more chaotic. They kind of like, it like starts like this. Doom, doom, doom. And then it just ratchets up into that fever pitch of a nightmare of madness. And I think it conveys that so well. The look of the film is amazing, right? Robert Eggers mentions in the commentary, soon as I came up with this idea. And the idea is originally based on, there's a famous Edgar Allan Poe story called The Lighthouse that he never finished, right? So it's only like a page or two that he wrote of it. And Robert Eggers initially wanted to finish that story, right? But then he realized he couldn't do that. That would be impossible. And like, your second film? Oh, let me take the unfinished work from Edgar Allan Poe and do it for him. That's kind of fucking pretentious, right? But he was reading the story, a true story about 2 men who were stationed at a lighthouse on an island. There was a big storm. They got stuck there. They went insane. One dude died from a heart attack. The other one killed himself, right? So he kind of took that idea, took the Poe, because there's some Edgar Allan Poe-ness there. There's some Lovecraftian stuff here too. And he fuses it with Carl Jung and Greek mythology, and he creates and crafts something incredibly well. I think the script is amazing. I think the pace is amazing and the look of the film. So he said, as soon as I knew I was going to make this movie, I had to do it like in 133:1. And then it was his cinematographer who said, how about 119:1? Ooh, that's interesting. Robert Eggers says it works because The Lighthouse is a very vertical, narrow, phallic symbol.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, usually in a movie, you want the widescreen so you can see the scope of everything. But he goes, no, but the scope of the lighthouse is up and down. So that's why they're filming it that way, but also just to make it look old. And like I said, it as the audience removes us from it, letting us know just from the black and white and the aspect ratio that this is from another time. But then I think it completely engrosses us into it and makes us feel of that time. And what Steph was saying too, it adds to the sense of claustrophobia and constriction and being stuck in this one thing. I also mentioned that the cinematographer developed or used a filter, a cyan filter that took out all of the red so that the red would photograph as black. That black and white film they actually used, which shows more of the imperfections on an actor's face, more of the pores, more of the sweat. There's moments that are stunning to me. Simple little shit. Like when they're eating, you can see the steam coming off the food, right? Like shit like that to me is so cool, so atmospheric, and definitely influenced as well by, like, I think some like German expressionistic films, right? We're talking about the works like Nosferatu, so like Murnau, and then Lang, like Metropolis and M. It has that kind of a feel and a vibe to it that can only be achieved not through digital color grading, but through using actual black and white footage with the right lighting. And they built that set, like they built that lighthouse, right? They built every building that's on that island. They filmed it off the coast of Nova Scotia with super cold, high wind conditions. They're not using wind machines. And when it looks like Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe are about to get knocked the fuck over by the wind, that's legitimately what is happening. So I think style and structure-wise, it excels as well as the performances do. What do you think about the style and structure, Fable?
Well, yeah, I think it's a gorgeous film. I think, Steph said something earlier about this being like built for like for them to let's go. It's award season. Let's try to get an award for acting. I think that can be said for like the cinematography in this movie. I think the shots are just gorgeous. They're just put together. The main, if I had one word to say, I would say composition. I think the composition of each shot is so purposeful and so beautiful that, I mean, if you just looked at it from that lens, you could be like, my God, you know what I mean? This thing is crazy. Like you said, the foul nature of the lighthouse. They show it like sideways, and then the camera turns like, oh, it's getting erect.
Oh, yo.
You know what I'm saying?
Showing.
Not just stuff like that. Like there was a shot where Pattinson's going up that little spiral staircase, and the camera is zooming in on his face, and the lights are like bouncing off of his eyes in a certain way, where they're focusing on his eyes. The light of the lighthouse, that bulb, whatever the fuck they're using, that damn thing, the way that looks and the way it sparkles and shines, especially with that kind of grade of camera, you know what I mean?
It made me want to know, like, is that what they look like? Is that what a light bulb in a lighthouse looks like?
Yeah,
It is striking. It looks so fucking cool.
Right. It made it look really cool. It doesn't look like an old-timey film to me. It actually looks like a photograph from those times come to life. Like if you take an old picture from the 1890s or something and then animate that shit. That's what this movie looked like, especially in that first shot where they both pull up to the house. They're both next to each other, and they look like, ripped straight out of an old photograph to focus, stuff like that. So beautiful. Pacing, I mean, these guys said it earlier, and I kind of have to agree. Only I would be like maybe the reverse of Steph, where Steph said like in the beginning it intrigued them, and then towards the end it was like, what the fuck? To me, it was like, what the fuck is going on here? And then when they figure out that the boat's not coming, then I'm like, okay, now we understand. Now it's going to get good, because now they're going to go fucking crazy or whatever. They're going to go after each other. So the pacing it's all right for me. It's not the best, but I think it works for this film ultimately. But really, I mean, what carries me through is the beauty of the movie.
Hell yeah. All right. Verno, any thoughts about the style and structure?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm glad you kind of described their method for the black and white, because there is just something about it that look. My thought is like, oh, it's like they took the contrast and put it to 100. You know what I mean? But I think that's what you're saying, where they turn the red black, which just blackened the whole scene up or whatever. But just, I mean, we you guys mentioned there's so many cool fucking shots. The one shot, I feel it's some Greek god shit. I feel like maybe it's like some old painting that they were riffing on when he's like light shooting out of Dafoe's eyes into Pattinson. That's just so striking. The one where the bird is in the well and the camera, the way it follows down, it's above and it looks down, and or whatever it is, the water source that it's in. There's so many amazing shots. Here's what I want to ask you guys. This is my kind of issue with like the story. I didn't feel like there was, and maybe I missed it. I didn't feel like there was enough of him like yearning to have access to this light. Because to me, that's like such a big part of the story is Dafoe is the keeper of the lighthouse. It's his fucking job, and Pattinson wants it. And like that's the whole thing. At the end, it becomes like almost the most important part of the movie. And I didn't feel like there was enough that was leading me like, oh, he really wants to be in that lighthouse. He wants to touch that light or open it up and see what it is.
And they sprinkled it throughout the movie a little bit.
I could have
when he's
missed
out
it.
walking and looks up at the light. It's more subtle, but
Or
it's good.
him telling the story of how he wanted to murder his first foreman, but then instead he just let him die. Maybe he did kill him. That's kind of, I guess that's implying he has a greedy nature, so he's like patient. He might want something, but he's just waiting for the opportune moment to take it,
Right. I feel like it's the type of thing of maybe if I watch the movie again, like you're saying, Brooks, I picked up a few moments of them like talking about it, and he's like, no, it's my fucking lighthouse. But I don't know. I feel like it could have been, I could have felt more of an attachment myself to like want that for him. You know what I mean? Like most movies would align you with the main character and you want what they want. And I didn't give a shit if he went into the lighthouse or not. I guess is my biggest issue with the story. But just, I mean, this being March Madness, its descent into madness structurally is brilliant. You know what I mean? Like it gets more and more chaotic as it goes. And that goes back on the performances too. They've got all right, Robert, how crazy am I? Well, you know what I mean? What day is it? Where are we at? And like, that is really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. The bit where Willem Dafoe's shining the light is based on a painting called Hypnosis. The bit where you see the body getting picked apart by the birds is from the painting Sailors or something like that.
It's like Prometheus, right? Isn't that the story that how he
and this is a Prometheus story is what it is, because the light represents the fire that Prometheus is trying to steal. And then you could say then that Willem Dafoe's character is based on Proteus, right? Which is it's a sea god that's not Neptune or Poseidon, but like it's like isn't Proteus Neptune's or Poseidon's son or something, Brooks, right?
Yeah, something like that. I think like his main thing was he was a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Which all of them kind of are, but that was kind of his specialty, I think.
So there is an interpretation of the film where like Proteus, this is basically the underworld. This dude is paying for his sins. He's trapped there, but it's mimicking the Prometheus story. And then Proteus is there to kind of like torment this dude, and he takes the form of the dude that he's tormenting, because there is the interpretation that they are the same person.
It has a Sisyphus thing too, where he's taking the barrel up to the top of the lighthouse, and then he gets it to the top, and he's like, take it back down.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of Greek stuff.
And he turns into Proteus literally when he's punching him and stuff. You see the tentacles come out, and he's a half creature or whatever. And there's even a shot. Remember the shot where Willem Dafoe's like fucking naked, and he's standing over Pattinson, and he has like the pole, and there's just light beams coming out of his eyes and shit like that. Yeah, that looks like some sort of painting that I can't recall what it is, but
yeah, that's the painting Hypnosis. And so what's crazy is that the movie works if you're like, oh, a lot of this shit's just in their head, but then the movie also works if you're like, no, it's supernatural. Right? There's something going on there. And I don't know, I think that's really, really, really exciting to me when a movie like can be interpreted in so many ways. What about you, Link? What do you think about the style and structure?
Style-wise, can't say anything better than you gentlemen have said. It was phenomenal. It did look like a photograph. It reminded me of a movie we covered not too recently, The Girl Who Walks Home Alone at Night.
Yeah.
We covered that a few months ago. And I was praising that because every frame kind of looked like a photograph. And, like Fable said, that's the same for this movie. It does look like a photograph. The contrast with the shadows, like every time Pattinson was, he stepped outside to have a cigarette, and you see like the light, pass by him. Beautiful. I like the themes they're playing with, like the whole when William Dafoe first smacked the shit out of Pattinson because he said the seagull shit. He was like, "That's bullshit." Pattinson was standing over him, and then Dafoe starts to like cower like a dog, So like, and then towards the end, he puts him on a leash like a dog, kind of, sort of like a leash. So I like there's some cool symbolism, thematics going on. Structure wise, it was fine. I did lose me. I get my whole thing was like these guys. It was like got to a point. It was like, you guys gonna fight, you're gonna fuck. And they fought, and then that still didn't help anything. And then it was like getting to another point. It was like, you guys finally gonna fuck, and that didn't happen. So it was just like, what just I guess they're just losing their goddamn minds. I mean, maybe we don't.
I think
know.
there's an implied rape by the end of the movie. Y'all caught that,
Yes.
right?
I thought they did have sex because there was a scene where they shot the light, like a little hanging light, and it was almost as if they were banging from the ceiling. So it was showing the light like moving, like like a sex, like they were doing it. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's what I caught.
When I meant they were gonna fuck, I meant consensually.
How Willem Dafoe was fucking that light? That's the one thing I do know. Bro was going to town.
That makes the slimy ship dripping on Robert Pattinson even more like, whoa, bruh.
But no, structure wise, it was fine. I don't have too many gripes about it. I did his job. I respect it. It's just it made me feel like when I first watched Requiem for a Dream, like I needed to take a damn shower. I did feel like I was losing my mind with those guys. So job well done in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Brooks, what do you think about the style and structure?
Well, I think it's got great style, of course. This movie, like, it made me think this would be a good double feature with Dead Man, because it's almost kind of like a similar. It's instead of being like where Dead Man was like a journey to the underworld, and at the end he like gets in the boat and he's going down the river Styx. This movie like picks up there, like you see the boat coming through the fog, like it's crossed the river Styx and it's on the other side now, something like purgatory or whatever. But yeah, that'd be a weird double feature. But that's just what I thought. Like
which one do you start with though, Brooks? If it's a double feature, would you do Lighthouse or Dead Man?
Yeah, you start with Dead Man.
Yeah,
Dead Man's the journey to the river Styx.
Yeah,
and then this movie is after the someone who has actually crossed the river Styx.
Both in black and white, both very similar.
They're both black and white. Yeah. They're like both very artsy. Like that'd be an interesting double feature, I think.
Both with pretty boy actors trying to act against type, right?
Yeah, there's like so many parallels.
Yeah. Dead Man was the best Cruise choice pick ever, I think, because that's become one of my favorite movies, Brooks.
Oh yeah,
kudos to you for that one, man.
Yeah, I'm glad I could spread the love of Dead Man. But yeah, it's like structurally, I think it builds up perfectly. Like you get it's very slow at first, but you can feel the tension building. He's doing his best. He's working, and he's putting up with the dude's bullshit because he's got that promise of once my 4 weeks are up, I'm gone. But then when that falls apart, the decline is just perfectly paced. I think this movie is like paced as good as you can pace a movie like this. I think because it just builds the tension so perfectly, and once it gets crazier, it's crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier, and then that's and then the movie's over. So yeah, not bad. Not that bad.
Yeah, hell yeah. The music is done by Mark Corbin, who is mostly known for doing this movie and The Witch as well. So he worked with Robert Eggers 2 times. He has been composing film scores since the late 80s. Notable movies from his career are Cube, The Witch, The Lighthouse, and he's recently did The Black Phone and Night Swim and The First Omen. And The First Omen, I don't think is a good movie, but I think it's got an excellent score. Now, the music to me in this film,
it's decent,
works so well, I think, with the sound design. That goddamn foghorn. Like, just imagine that, being in a place where you hear that thing going off repeatedly over and over at certain times, right? And that's an oppressive type noise, and it's so loud. The score reflects that to me. I would describe the score as being significantly, and it's oppressive and significantly so, and necessarily so. The music is very unsettling. It's very atmospheric. It's mostly tones. There's not like a theme. It ain't a John Carpenter score, with some synths and shit like that. It is straight up just like noises that are there to make you feel closed in, and like oppressive to me is the word that when I think about the score, it's not something that you can listen to on its own and really appreciate. I mean, you can, because I tried to do that, but it's not something you put on while you're driving your fucking car. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to get to the mall or some shit like that. But I think
he's driving down just a foghorn going through the speakers.
But then also part of it is the sound of those waves, man. And I think that's very important too, because I think the waves do represent. I think the waves represent not just crossing over into the underworld, but also the subconscious the subconscious or the unconscious mind itself. So I think the waves mean something, just like in the masterpiece by Steven Soderbergh, The Limey. What about you, though, Fable? What'd you think about the music in the film?
I mean, you said it all, really. I can't really add too much to that. I did notice it. The sound design is very apparent, especially towards the beginning. Like you said, that foghorn. The tones, so like you said, doesn't have much of a score per se, but they use a lot of like, just make you feel like you're in this desolate, fucking bleak,
slightly disharmonic, not very melodic at all, right? Yeah,
like you're maybe disconnected from the whole entire world. It definitely fits, and it's definitely noticeable. So yeah, I mean, I think it works completely. So in that sense, it's great.
All right, Verno, what about you? Spill the beans on the music. What do you think?
I sleep with a sound machine. I don't know about you guys, but all night long. I gotta have it. If I don't have it, I'm fucked. Completely.
Don't watch The Limey, then, bro. You'll be out.
Well, I feel like this was partially why maybe this movie just put me down over and over and over again. When I first tried to watch it, the first 30 minutes, it's nothing but wind and rain and waves and just noise. Like even the music that you get is mostly just drones. That one note, and I don't know. So it's super effective, obviously, but I do think that's partial. To me, it helped put me down because there wasn't like I wouldn't even consider it like music. I mean, it is. I guess you could call it music, but it's more like you said, Robbie. It's just noise, but effective for what it is, for sure.
Score sounds.
Yeah.
It always makes me think of Forgetting Sarah Marshall when he's all like, no, nobody wants music anymore. They just want tones. Bob is making tones. I want to write music. I mean, think about it, especially since like the Hans Zimmer Inception soundtrack. I mean, how many movies just do that? Womp.
You guys ever seen the reel where it's someone, they're just taking a rubber band and it's like every A24 trailer. It's just it's like weird noises and shit. Yeah, it's right in.
Steph, what do you think about the music and the sound?
Yeah, the sound design was fantastic. That it's definitely maybe the undersung hero of this movie. It definitely enhanced it. Yeah, that the wailing of the horns or whatever the fuck that was very unnerving. It I could see how that would drive someone mad, especially the way they used it. But yeah, I mean, it did what it did. It definitely wouldn't listen to this without the movie. But it definitely did its job.
I fucking found this shit on YouTube. I was listening to it in my car on my way to work the other day, and I was just like,
"I feel do it."
Okay, like I'm switching back to Deftones.
Deftones actually not a bad blend with this. They're pretty drony themselves.
Let's score some Deftones music onto the fucking Lighthouse and see what happens.
Some fucking Tool.
Dude, Board would work really well for the Lighthouse, I think. What about you, Brooks? What do you think about the soundtrack and the score?
I think it's good. It's very minimal. Like it's not like they don't use like soundtrack. And when they do, it's not like, orchestral. It's very more like, single instrument almost. It is more kind of like tones. But I think that works to the advantage of the soundtrack, because a movie like this where you're trying to like, it's about like madness, and music is kind of the enemy of madness. Like even if it is like a haunting score, it's still something about music that kind of like soothes you, even if you're like um
A melody.
if it is like
Yes.
building tension, because like it's like it's like the saying, music soothes the savage beast.
That's what I was just
Like,
gonna say. Offspring.
Yeah, it's like it's just the way our brains work, I guess. Is like music makes things make more sense. Like if you feel like you're losing it, you can hear a song and it'll help you. It'll make you feel better, just because
Contextualize.
music is intentionally, it makes a certain kind of sense. It's about melody and harmony and all this kind of things. So yeah, like I think it's good that they didn't overdo it with the music in this movie. I think it works to the movie's advantage. It makes it much more claustrophobic, I think. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Well said.
Great conversation there about the sound and the music. One thing I did want to touch on style that I forgot to mention. I don't remember who said this. Maybe it was the cinematographer, maybe it was Robert Eggers, but they were like, when you're not able to use color to help paint the tone of a film, texture and lighting and framing become even more important. And that is something that this movie oozes with, right? Just like the oozing jism from Willem Dafoe up in the lamp or whatever, just coming down, dripping. He got slime like Bill Murray and in a way different way. All right. This movie has a lot of themes that a lot of people have picked up on. So much stuff. We've talked a little bit about the Greek mythology stuff, the Prometheus story. We've talked about, is it purgatory? Is he one person? Is it like, is any of it real? Is it like, what's going on there? There's other like themes like sexual repression. Like there's a perspective on this movie where Robert Pattinson's character is dealing with repressed homosexuality. He killed that dude, his former lover, right? And now like, because that's a part of it. Like, and also just there's the homosexual stuff, but even just sexual repression, because being stuck out there, and this is things that sailors would go through, is you ain't got nobody to fuck, right? So it's kind of like a prison situation where people who wouldn't consider themselves homosexuals will do certain things and then kind of deal with that in not a healthy way after the fact, right? There is an implied rape at the end of the film, I think.
Yeah, could you explain that a little bit more? Because I missed it.
Was the bit where he beats the shit out of Willem Dafoe and he starts unbuckling his pants.
Oh.
And he starts leaning over him. And then you tie that into the scene where he impales him through the back, right? There's that kind of stuff in there. And like, even in the script, the lighthouse is referred to as a phallus. And I think that's a big part, right? He finds the little mermaid, right, in that hole. You know why that hole's there, stuffed with all that stuff? That's a fuck hole, man. That's a fuck hole that is put there, and they have that hair shit to replicate pubic hair. And so that was where the former, lighthouse co-keeper or whatever would like fuck his bed, right? Yeah. It's what he sees Willem Dafoe doing when he looks down when he's fixing the shingles, right? So there's this kind of sexual repression thing there, but there's an interpretation where he had a male lover. He killed that male lover because he couldn't kind of handle it, right? And he still doesn't really handle it. And then there's a lot of shit about this movie.
Yeah.
Fable, what's it saying to you?
To me, it says that no matter how much you try to forget the past, no matter how many, how you try to exile yourself or you try to give yourself a new name or whatever, if you don't face the things that you've done, they will come back and they will haunt you. Because my interpretation of this film, and again, anybody could take my shit and pick it apart and it'd be like, no, well, it can't be that. But I don't think Willem Dafoe was there. I think this was Pattinson going into self-exile, trying to convince himself that he can just start anew, and that the Willem Dafoe character was the side of him that knew the truth and was working him like a dog. You know what I mean? Because he was punishing himself. And all the times that you see them actually become friends for the brief moment or have sex or whatever it is you want to imply all those scenes were, was him getting along with himself for the first time. But then at the same time, it's just like, and then towards the end where he like makes him a dog, which kind of didn't make much sense to me if it was two characters, but it makes total sense to me if he wasn't there. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm controlling you now. You're not going to make me feel like shit anymore. You're not going to tell me who I am. I know who I am. I'm not a bad person, even though he is a fucking bad person. He is a liar. He is a person that didn't help somebody when they were dying. He is a person that ran away from responsibility. You know, and you know, he has all this sexual frustration, like you said. I mean, imagine fucking they showed mermaid vagina. Shit was weird.
But oddly hot though. Let's be honest. Come on.
So my interpretation of the film is that it was him all along on a journey of self-exile, and eventually going mad because you're by yourself. You know what I'm saying? But to say that the theme is that you can't escape the truth, your past. You know, you can't run away.
Yeah, he's switching his persona, which ties into some of the Jungian stuff, right? Because you know the persona, the animus, right? Like, or the anima, like that could be the mermaid. What represents the subconscious? Maybe the water, you know, the ocean or something like that. There's a lot of Jungian ideas in there. Also, yeah, I love that you pointed out they get along at certain times. When do they get along? It's when they're drinking. So even if you look at the movie where it's just Pattinson, the only time he really like feels happy with himself and comfortable is when he's drinking. But that's also when he confesses. He spills his beans and all that shit, right? So there's layers and layers, man. Just like the fucking
when he's honest with himself, I trust you. I trust you. All of a sudden they're closer. The two halves of his psyche are closer. You know what I mean?
And then when he sobers up, you shouldn't have spilt your beans. Right. You fucked everything up, man. You fucked everything up. Verno, what about you? What do you think the movie's trying to say to you? What did you take from it?
I mean,
falling asleep.
I did wake up and watch the whole thing. Let's be clear. Some of what Fable was saying, or I agree with all of what Fable was saying. There's definitely a bit which I'm always interested in, like isolation and what that does to people. Even when you're around people, some people isolate themselves. Whether you're keeping, you know, I mean, you might be with your wife or your family every day, but you're not telling them everything. So that's a way of isolating yourself. And when you keep stuff to yourself, you need to bounce ideas off of other people, like all the time. So that's not a healthy thing. But something that I thought was cool, as I noticed at the end of the movie, and we were kind of touching on it, like they become at the end of the movie, you almost can't tell them apart. It's really clear at first, like Willem Dafoe's he's a little kooky, and Pattinson seems to be like fairly normal. And then like by the end of the movie, they're almost the same character. And like that, there's a billion different ways you could read that, whether they are the same person or yada, yada, yada. But it's also like you become like the people that you're with. You know what I mean? Like you do become like your friends, especially if you're isolated, just that person. People do become themselves. Steph, I was talking to you about it before. There's a podcast that I listened to where they grade movies. It's just two people. They grade movies at the end of each one, and they keep a spreadsheet, which we should have been doing fucking years ago. And they've found over the course of 5 years that they've met each other with their grades. They used to have like opposite opinions on movies, and they've just aligned. It almost became the same fucking reviewer over the years. And that's kind of interesting. And it's something that it could be a good thing. It could be a positive or a negative, depending on if you're fucking hanging out with Willem Dafoe or not. But super interesting.
Willem Dafoe, but when you start drinking turpentine and honey, he's Willem DeFriend, 100%. Speaking of DeFriend, what about you, Steph? What's this movie speaking to you?
So much. But I do like the isolationist aspect Bruno was speaking on. Most people aren't comfortable sitting with their own thoughts. You know, left alone long enough, you're gonna be confronted by your own demons, and I don't think most people can handle addressing their own demons. Hence why people constantly try to keep busy, or they're interacting with other people. Yeah, you do feed off other people. And you do need to bounce off ideas of other people in order to thrive. It's a symbiosis. But at the same time, a lot of people preoccupy themselves from addressing bullshit about themselves because they're involved with other people, you know? So I do think that it was, you know, he was trying to escape something, and it's like he he was left he thought that was a good getaway from him. Maybe he did kill his lover, and he was trying to get a good way, clean slate, get a good job after this. But he didn't know what that would entail. Like, he was left with his own demons, and those bitches ate him up, So I think there's a lot, there's a whole power dynamic in relationships, sexual, you were speaking on it earlier, Robbie, repression. There's so much, but I do like the isolationists that Verna was speaking on. I thought that was prevalent.
Absolutely, man. The isolation nature of it, whether it's a physical thing that's happening, that he's removing himself from society, taking this job, which reminds me of the early 2000s when that fucking crab fishing show got so famous on History Channel, and everybody I know thought that they would go for a quick summer in Alaska and make mad bank doing that. Ain't none of us were able to fucking gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Brooks, could you imagine me and you trying to crab fish in Alaska? Get the fuck out of here. We're so soft, dude. We couldn't handle that shit, dude. It'd be like, I don't even know what's happening in the new issue of Fantastic Four. How can I handle it? But yeah, whether it's real or whether it's in his head, isolation is a big, big part of it. And that is like leaning into what you were talking about what his self-loathing, how he hates himself, but at the same time, he can't accept it. And he only accepts it really when he's like drinking, because alcoholism is a big theme in this movie too. Right. So there's so much, but when you're dealing with this stuff, people tend to self-isolate because then you don't feel like you're worthy of like being part of a community or having friends or having a lover, especially if you live in a society or a fucked up head where you don't feel like you can be accepted for the lover that you love, if that makes sense. Brooks, what about you? What do you think? What's this movie speaking to you?
Well, I thought this movie was saying kind of like you can't run from yourself. Like throughout the movie, like Pattinson's character is like, in the beginning, he's like, it feels like you can tell he's kind of putting on an act, He's like, I don't drink, I'm a God-fearing man and all this stuff. But it feels like, it doesn't feel genuine. It feels like he's just trying to and what he's trying to do is he's trying to become a new guy, It's like, it's tempting to want to just leave your past self behind and, absolve your sins. But, you can fool other people, but you'll never fool yourself. That's why I kind of think Dafoe is meant to be kind of like maybe like a version of Pattinson's character, kind of like it's supposed to be like him from the future or something like that, because there's so many parallels between them. They're both named Tom, like they're both like greedy and weird, so yeah, it feels like he's kind of being judged by himself and having to face himself, and the fact that he can't just become this new guy that he wants to become, because he'll always know that he's not that guy. He'll always know what his true self is. I think that's kind of a thing with a lot of people. It's you just want to leave. You want to feel like you're shedding an identity that you don't want anymore to become something new. But despite that, you like the past, you'll always be that guy. You can change, but you can't run from your past, because it's always with you. You just have to kind of accept it. And I think that's what the point of this movie is. He never could accept. He wasn't able to accept it in the end. And that's why the light rejected him and cast him out.
Hell yeah. I'm right there with y'all, but one more little thing I want to throw out there, an interpretation of the film that I like, is it's about work. It's about the system of work and wages in America, right? Especially in how much this relationship between employee and employer and corporation, how early that shit was starting to be solidified into the way that we know it today. This is a dude who's like, I've worked hard. He can't hold down a job. He's going from job to job to job, trying to find opportunity. At one point, one of the most profound things is, and Brooks, I love that you mentioned lying. I think this whole movie is both characters lying to themselves and to each other, right? But he says, I just want to make some money to be able to find myself a place and then be left the fuck alone. How many of us, workers for other people, go, I just need to get to a point where I can say fuck this job and go off and live my own life, and nobody's fucking with me. Nobody's telling me what to do. Nobody's treating me like a dog. No one's in, like, that's that dog thing, Fable, that you first mentioned, right? Like that's in there. And then Link, you were talking about how he's like even treating Willem Dafoe as a dog, right? Like that's all connected, right? Because that's how he's been made to feel through the system of the working class. But what's very interesting is that Willem Dafoe is not a white collar worker. He's a blue collar worker too. But he is, through a certain position, a title, given authority over this dude. And he abuses that authority, right? And the only time that he's not acting like a dickhead boss is when he's shit-faced. And then he wants to chat with him. And then starts feeling resentment that Robert Pattinson doesn't want to be cool and friendly with them outside of the work environment, if that makes sense.
I love the scene where he's like, you don't mean that. When he tells him he doesn't like his cooking.
Yeah. Sure, you like
me lobster.
I see you eyeing me lobster.
They're arguing like a married couple then at that moment, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, why would he like it? He's caught some wild lobster. I'm sure he boiled it. Then he pours whatever the fuck they're drinking over it, right? Like, which I'm assuming maybe rum or something. I don't know what that would have been at the time, but.
And lobster wasn't a delicacy back around those times, you know. So that's another thing.
They're like ocean cockroaches, basically, right? But
they taste yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the working man, like, and the boss, but not just the boss, but the fact that there is no difference between Willem Dafoe's character and Robert Pattinson's character. It's just a title that is just bullshit. And even though he's saying all these nice things, what's he doing in his note? His notebook is making this dude look bad to make himself look better. And he's keeping
fucking him over,
like, and then look at him, like, how many this happens. The employees do all the work. The manager sits in the office watching YouTube videos, talking to Brooks all day. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of fucking thing. So,
and then he tries to manipulate him into thinking, like, you know, oh no, you are a bad worker. Like, I love that he tries to put that little twist on it. Like, oh no, man.
Yeah, the gaslight house is what this should be called, right? Because he's like, he's like, how many times he's like, no, you destroyed the boat.
Yeah.
What?
Yo,
what?
Right, that because that was like, even though we know it was like a mental thing going on, it could have easily been either situation. Whereas William Dafoe gaslighting him, or after he's like, no, it's all in your fucking head, you know, or Rob Pattinson literally did go crazy, you know.
That's what made me think what I was thinking, because when he was like, why did you have to smash the boat like that or whatever? And it was like, wait a minute, you didn't smash the boat. The other guy smashed the boat. What is the fuck is he talking about? I was like, oh, wait a minute.
We've been
here. The same guy?
Or when Robert Pattinson thinks they've been waiting for a couple of days for the ship. And he's like, we've been waiting weeks. It's been like a month or something. Like what are you talking about, brother?
He's just fucking with him. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, you're bad. You didn't mop the floor. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. I know you did. You know, like all that shit, right? It's about that oppressive nature of the boss. But what I do love, and what I do think the movie is saying, at least to me, with all the themes that we can talk about, with the worker stuff, with the repressed sexuality, with all this stuff, right? I think it all does come down to what everybody here was saying. It's about, you can't escape who you are. You can't escape the truth. You can build a new persona, right? There's Jungian stuff here. And you can build a new persona, but you can't escape who you actually are inside. You can't escape, for instance, your shadow. And some would say the Willem Dafoe is representation of the shadow. Some would say the representation of the unconscious. I think the sea is more representative of the subconscious or the unconscious, right? I think it's the unconscious. That's where the things appear and show up. But I think the island is representative maybe of the subconscious. The seagull has one eye. Who else has one eye? The former employee.
The guy killed, yeah.
The guy killed has one eye, right? Mm-hmm. And Willem Dafoe even says every seagull holds the soul of the sailor, right? So if there's all this stuff thrown together, you take the Prometheus stuff in, the light representing, what does Willem Dafoe say? The light, it says it in the movie, the light represents salvation. If this is a purgatory situation, seeing that light, maybe it takes you to somewhere else. That lighthouse, when he finally gets there, by the way, the light opens up to him with nobody touching it. I think there's a supernatural actual flavor in the movie. I think it's not just like, I love that it could be ambiguous, but I think it's the supernatural element is there. But I read the movie as it is a mythologically Greek or sailor mythology, which is deeply rooted in Greek, like Poseidon mythology and Triton and Proteus and the Prometheus story, right? Proteus and Prometheus, were they brothers? I don't know. I don't know. I got to.
Prometheus was a Titan.
He's a Titan, that's right. But Proteus it's either the son of Poseidon. I think he's the son of Poseidon. That'd make more sense because Poseidon's brothers are Hades and Zeus. So
who's the character that tried to grab for the light and went too close, flew too close to the light?
Icarus.
That's what I get. Yeah.
Both Prometheus or Proteus, one of them, the same shit, flew to the sun, kind of a.
Yeah.
Coming in choppy, Vern. Say it one more time.
All right. Don't worry.
All right. But I think that's what it's about, man. I think it's about a prison of the mind, right? It's about the isolation of the mind. And like, I mean, we're all on the same thing. This movie's so many things, but ultimately I think it's about no matter how much you try to change who you are for other people and to yourself, you won't escape that unless you deal with it. Like, you got to deal with your shadow. You got to deal with your unconscious self. You got to bring yourself into alignment. Yeah, you can fool other people, but only for so long, because you can't fool yourself. Basically what you said, Fable. Yeah. That and fucking mermaids is fucking crazy. Whatever. So anyway, all right, time to rate the film out of 5 possible ya digs. There you go. Proteus is often depicted as a sea god, the old man of the sea, and a son of the sea god Poseidon. Thank you. So, I mean, the idea being like, it's like sailor mythology kind of applied to psychoanalysis and this wonderful film of this Lighthouse, man. It's just absolutely crazy to me. I think it's very, very rich. Now it's time to rate the film. You out there in the chat, out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give the Lighthouse? Verno is going to be second. Fable, why don't you kick us off here on the channel?
I think I'm on both sides of the fence with this one. I think it's beautiful. I think it's absolutely a gorgeous, just a cinematography masterpiece kind of thing. I think the acting is fantastic. But I do get, and I have felt throughout parts of this movie where it's like, what is going on? And sometimes you're not in the mood for that kind of thing. You know what I mean? I could understand you now. Like, I don't think I'm ready for this kind of shit, this interpretive shit. You know what I mean? But I think upon further watches and things like that, you can gain an appreciation. You can take out of it what you want to take out of it. Much like Mother, you saw Mother. I think Mother has that same kind of thing going on. And it's not easy to make something like that, right? And it be not just taken as pretentious bullshit. Like, no, this is just you trying to be a artsy fartsy motherfucker. But I think he pulls it off for the most part. I'm gonna give it a 4. I'm like, with room to.
All right, 4 you digs with room to grow from Fable. What about you, Verno? What are you thinking?
I see it all. Hear me?
Uh-oh, you're kind of...
Hear me now.
3. All right, nice. And I love how he just didn't draw a 3. He actually like illustrated a 3. I really appreciate that.
That was it. I like
3 from
that was some
Verno.
on the spot. I like the MacGyver on the spot, quick thinking. That was I applaud that. That's thinking on the spot, getting the job done.
Yeah, no
With
shit.
that being said,
yeah. What about you, Verno?
Vern the Bean Spiller. I'm going to go. Even though this is not a movie I'll find myself watching too much in the future, I do respect the craft of it. And at the end of the day, it was a descent into madness, and they did a fine job with that. So I'll give it a 4.25. yeah, I respect what went into this, but I certainly understand the qualms other people might have while watching this.
All right. 4.25 from Link. Brooks, what about you, man? What are you thinking?
I really like this movie. I almost want to give it a 5, but like I'd say I'd quite give it a 5. I'd give it a 4.5, I think. Like I think it is very good at, what it's trying to do. And like, it is a movie that, it piqued my interest. Like, despite, it is kind of a bleak movie, like this is March Madness after all, but like it's I don't know, this one, it fascinated me, I guess, on some level, but yeah, it's not definitely not a movie like, not for everybody, I would say. But yeah, for a movie that is trying to like encapsulate this idea of like madness and claustrophobia and being separated from society, I think it does. I think it does a pretty perfect job of that. Like from the storytelling to the soundtrack, like everything, I think fits perfectly in this movie.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Before I get to my rating, I do want to let you know that Jelani did watch it, intended to be here, and apparently his work fucked him. So Willem Dafoe called him and said, "You didn't swab the deck, matey. You didn't do it enough." But he told me his rating, wanted me to share it. He said 4.5. This movie is crazy. So there you go. For me, this is my second time watching it. I think it's hypnotic. I think it's haunting. I just came to mind with that because it was on the back of the Blu-ray case. But that's true. It's hypnotic. It's haunting. It's ethereal and it's grounded. It's got so many interpretations, so many things that all work into the same direction. And I think the movie is rather powerful and rather impacting. No surprise. I'm giving it a 5. I think Robert Eggers has made 4 fucking damn near perfect fucking films, and The Lighthouse is one of them. And usually a director's second movie is one of their weaker ones. And not the case here, 100%. I think The Lighthouse is a 5. So a 5 from me, a 4.5 from Jelani and from Brooks, a 4 from Fable, a 4.25 from Link, and a 3 from Verno. And we got some 4s, we got a 5, and we got a 4.5 out there in the chat. That's a PCP average of 4.399. 69 dudes.
Mermaid 69 dudes.
A mermaid or
69.
a bed 69, because they were both wanting to fuck their beds, dude. But you know what? You're out there alone, isolated for so long. I'd probably fuck a bed too. I'm just trying to say, I'm just whatever. It is what it is.
I'll bet mattress, your lumps are really doing it for me tonight.
You got to get creative with your masturbatory ways when you're isolated out there at sea.
I'll go out to the boathouse with the mermaid statue. I'm good with that one.
Out in the rain, Lincoln all over. Like, what the fuck, man? Jesus Christ. Invest in bubble wrap. All right. Thus concludes our movie review for The Lighthouse. Thus concludes March Madness 2025. Everybody give yourself a hand. Everybody on the panel, everybody out there in the chat, everybody who's been a part of these shows. We made it the best, fucking most awesome March Madness of all time. So now we're switching gears next week here on PCP Movie Night. We're going into April, and we decided that April was going to be April Movie Fools Month. So we're watching some movies that we could be considered to be rather foolish to be covering here after talking about such great movies like Blue Velvet, The Lighthouse, Mother. We've covered some great movies on the channel so far this year for PCP Movie Night. And we're continuing that tradition next week as we talk about Double Dragon. That's right, Double Dragon here on PCP Movie Night. That's next week, 8 p.m. Central Time, Monday night. Verno has left us, but not for too long. He'll be back for his own show Thursday night. Check it out as they do the Grindhouse movies, Planet Terror and Death Proof. Should be a fun show. Those are great movies and super fun to watch together in their original theatrical format. Fable, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a very important and integral and impactful and interesting part of March Madness this year with your own lineup. By the way, Fight Club and this movie got some similarities too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So hell yeah. Fable, thank you.
1919.
Final thoughts, what you got coming up?
Well, tomorrow is my son's 3rd birthday. So happy birthday, baby. I love you. Can't wait to hang out with him tomorrow and have him open all his presents and stuff that we got him. That would
Happy
be
birthday, Fable Jr. That's awesome.
awesome.
He's not on my list, by the way, just so you know.
He better not be, dipshit. I got you on Friday. Trust me, I got a whole bit planned for your ass. Anyway, yeah, Friday, the all new, all different Blame Fable show. Where we talk about pop culture news and topics. Come hang out. We were off last week, but we're back this Friday. My man Rockin Robbie will be there. We got a special guest, Austin Light, who's got a new Kickstarter. He's promoting a new book. We got him coming on to talk about his book. So, yeah, come hang out Friday nights, man. And thank you, Robbie, for making me a part of March Madness this year. It was a lot of fun, and it definitely it did a lot better for my channel than I actually thought it would. Because I just do that live show. That's really my whole stick. But doing the movie reviews, man, we got some good views out of them. So I'm like,
Hell yeah.
maybe
Horror
I
Fest
should
is
keep
coming, my
going.
friend.
Yeah, maybe I
Just
should
to let
keep
you
going.
know.
So I
So is Action
appreciate you,
Fest.
man.
So was Action Fest. So you're
I
always
appreciate
welcome, man. I
you.
really appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
And Verno,
thank you.
we love you and appreciate you, bruh. You're the best. Thank you so much for being here for the finale. Link, final thoughts. Thank you so much for being here and being such an important part of the PCP Movie Night family, man.
I am the MVP for quite a bit, but yeah, I'll always be around. You guys will always be here spicing it up. So yeah, been a pleasure.
Hell yeah, man. I'm looking real quick. Yeah, you'll be back next week for Double Dragon.
Finally getting the good stuff.
Yeah, finally.
Five your digs.
Double Dragon is so far as me, Jelani Brooks, Steph, Joe Corallo.
Oh my God! How does Joe end up on these movies, bro?
He picked it, man. I don't know. And then Mark from Geeks Unleashed. I don't even know if they know what Double Dragon is over there in the UK. Mark was like, "Hey, I'm off work this week. What are you doing?" I was like, "We're doing Double Dragon, bro. I'm signing you up." So I bet he's just gonna be like, "What I tell you, mate? I don't think
wasn't Double Impact like a loose base translation of Double Dragon on the low, like before Double Dragon actually came out?"
Yeah.
Like,
Oh shit!
You just made Double Impact go up in my head. Hell yeah. Brooks, we love you. Thank you for being here. You're here for every PCP movie night except for the ones where you bitch out, which are very few and far in between. Jelani, you are not. So why don't you tell us what you got coming up? And thank you so much. Share your final thoughts.
Oh yeah, but I guess me and Delaney, we do Go Figure reviews. He was too weak and frail to make it tonight, unfortunately. But I believe we didn't do a video this week. A lot of stuff came up, but I believe we're planning to do Rio Blast next. The new Origins Mattel Creations Rio Blast. So that should be pretty good. But for final thoughts, I guess after I watched this movie, I just had one thought: to really use a smoke.
Yeah. No shit. All right, next week, Double Dragon here on PCP Movie Night. Nobody asked for it, but we're delivering it anyway. If you know our April lineup, it's going to be super fun. I will be on the all new, all different Blame Fable show to answer the bullshit that Fable's going to say about me there. Do check out Verno's show on Thursday night as they talk about Planet Terror and Death Proof, the Grindhouse movie. Super fun, super cool. And for my final thoughts, I love everybody. Appreciate everybody watching these shows, supporting PCP Movie Night. It's never been our most popular show, but we kept doing it because we just love hanging out and talking about movies. And now there's some of our biggest videos out there, some of them. So share this video, get Lighthouse up there in that algorithm. We really appreciate you. I appreciate everybody that's ever done these shows with me. But there's one thing I can't stand about any of you. You goddamn thoughts. You goddamn thoughts stinking up.